Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I used to work in a steel fabrication shop which was conveniently located across the alley from a box store with a Canadian in its name and a red triangle sorta logo. It's like an automatic store with an auto service center which also sells tools, lawn furniture, kitchen stuff, appliances, tires, sporting goods, and camping gear. Our workplace supplied coveralls which were blue and had the company name embroidered on them as well as name tags. The box store had red and black coveralls that Tex wore. I worked with a friend who had the same sick sense of humor as I did, and we had gotten each other's name tags changed through clever use of repair request forms to the uniform company. So my name was Buzz and he was Putnik. Occasionally we would stay late at work and work on our own projects or do maintenance on our vehicles. One particular day we were staying late and replacing the brakes on my friend's car. We had taken a break and we were near the back door of the shop in the alleyway smoking cigars and hanging in the alleyway when a woman drove up to us and demanded we tell her what's wrong with her car. My buddy says, "We're on a break right now." And she snaps back, "Well, you can still help me." So I replied without missing a beat, "Sounds like your water pump needs a solenoid." Then the Karen lady demanded us to tell her what part she needs so we can fix her car. So I tell her, "You need an X34578 water pump solenoid." Then my buddy pipes up, "Yeah, I'll probably have to get a rebuild kit for your oil exchanger." She then says demandingly, "When can I expect you guys to start work on it?" My buddy replies, "Just go to the parts counter and ask them for the parts and then drop it at the service center doors." Mind you, we are actually welders wearing blue coveralls and the service techs wear red and black coveralls at the box store with the store's name and logo. Since we were doing a brake job, we decided to run to the box store and get some extra brake fluid. So we popped over to the store to grab it from the car fluid section. While we were in there, we noticed Karen at the parts desk and she was clearly annoyed asking for the imaginary parts we told her to get. She was clearly upset and said that a couple mechanics outside told her to get them. We were holding back laughter and went to the checkout to pay for our purchase. While we were exiting the store, we got spotted by Karen, who loudly exclaimed, "There they are! These are the mechanics!" To the parts guy who just replied, "Sorry, they don't work here." We were laughing pretty hard at this woman's expense and she was not having it. So she quickly followed us outside and started berating us and demanding to know where we work. We just laughed at her and walked back to the shop and in through the back door. A little while later, our boss, who was working late, calls us into the office and he's there with the Karen. He asked us what happened and we told him exactly what happened. Her face was red and she was fuming mad. And our boss, I could tell, was trying to hold back laughter. She then pipes up, "I demand you fire these two mechanics. Buzz and Sputnik. They are not good at their jobs. Very unprofessional." The boss at this point can't hold back his laughter and neither can we, and he replies, "Do these two gentlemen look like they are wearing red and black coveralls? Why on earth would you even ask these two for help? Just look at them. Their name tag should give away the fact that they are just going to mess with you." Red-faced raging Karen just stormed out of the office, slamming the door so hard I thought it would break, leaving us laughing pretty damn hard. I was working the morning shift at the cafe, and as always it was bustling with customers grabbing their morning coffee. That's when Karen walked in. At first glance, she seemed like a typical customer, getting in line to place her order. But as she was waiting her turn, I noticed her staring at one of our regular customers, a woman wearing a hearing aid, who was also waiting in line to order her coffee. The woman with the hearing aid was having trouble communicating her order to our barista, as she was having difficulty hearing and speaking clearly. I could see Karen getting visibly agitated, and before I knew it, she marched over to the woman and said in a loud and demanding tone, "Excuse me, but you're holding up the line. Just speak up and enunciate better so they can understand you." The woman with the hearing aid, who was clearly taken aback, tried to explain that she had a hearing impairment, but Karen wouldn't listen. She continued to berate her, causing a scene in front of the entire cafe. The other customers were shocked by Karen's behavior, and many of them left without ordering anything. I could see the woman with the hearing aid was getting more and more upset, and I quickly stepped in, trying to defuse the situation. "Ma'am, please be respectful. She has a hearing impairment, and she is doing her best to communicate," I said in a calm voice, but Karen wasn't having any of it. She turned her anger towards me. "I don't care what her problem is. She's holding up the line, and she needs to speak up." But things took a turn for the worst when Karen decided to snatch the hearing aid out of the woman's ear forcefully and decided to scream into the woman's ears as if the hearing aids were the thing that prevented her from hearing Karen's rant. The woman was in shock and pain. She couldn't believe what just happened. The other customers were in shock, and they seemed like they didn't know how to react. That's when a customer who was also in a line behind Karen stepped in and grabbed Karen's hand, twisted it, and put her on the floor. He detained her while we called the police. When the police arrived, they took Karen away in handcuffs. The woman with the hearing aid was understandably shaken up, but grateful for the man who stepped in to help her. She hugged him and thanked him before leaving. As for Karen, she was banned from our cafe and charged with assault. It was a shocking and upsetting incident, and it made me realize the importance of empathy and understanding towards those with disabilities. It is a reminder that we should always treat others with kindness and respect, regardless of their abilities. I worked in a telco call center up until recently for too many years. First on the floor, then as a manager, so I have many stories to tell. But something reminded me of this occurrence, so here I am boasting for the first time. We were initially a business sales-only team, but then turned into the Triple S team, being sales, service, and saves. So, with basically no training, the members on the floor now had to start taking the dreaded billing and cancellation calls. One lovely Monday morning, usually Mondays are the worst because customers have had the weekend to build up extra anger meter for not being able to call in. Business team is Monday to Friday. One of my team members gets a call from entitled jerk. This team member is fairly tenured, knows what they are doing and very good on the phones comparatively to others. She comes up to me and advises there is a customer wanting to speak to a manager. That would be me. Now for some additional information for those who have never worked in a call center, especially ones that deal with business customers, a good portion of them think they are the most important person in the world, demand everything done that day, and speak to a manager every other call. Because of this, I have conditioned my team, average 15 to 20 team members, to basically talk them out of needing to speak to a manager, since honestly only 1 out of like 20 requests were ever valid. Most of the time they just want to hear the same exact thing repeated to them. So going back, this agent comes up to me and says she has an entitled jerk that asks to speak to a manager and you will have a great time dealing with. She explained that it's another typical customer who is demanding a refund because he's being charged for something he didn't sign up for. Now, while that could be the case in this particular situation, mistake or not, this charge/item is actually saving them a ton of money. See, our standard internet plus landline phone packages include local plus national calls, but not calls to mobiles. For mobile calls and some international inclusion too. You can opt in for a calling pack, which is an additional $25 per month. She has tried to explain that while they don't make many outbound mobile calls to normally warrant this calling pack, which is what most businesses get it for. They seem to be making many and longish calls to some Indian destination numbers and also China. I ask her, "You have tried to explain this to them, right?" I try, but before I can get more than a few words in, he cuts me off and says he knows how it works and they don't make mobile calls and he doesn't have time to speak to someone that doesn't know what they are talking about and doesn't know simple math and how we are unethical for selling something he doesn't need. Already knowing where this is gonna go, and I do love maliciously compliant to things, I jump on the phone. I jump on the phone and introduce myself as the manager and start the conversation by saying, or try to, I have been advised of the situation by the agent, but please could you give me your account of the events? But before I could get out half of that, the entitled jerk cut in, saying he has no time to spend dealing with our shady sales practices. He upgraded plan and transitioned technologies to fiber, and that I should just refund the 4 months worth of call impact charges, $100 in total. After some back and forth of me trying to explain what my agent has tried to, all calls are definitely recorded, and the entitled jerk cutting me off each time I finally got a full sentence out very clearly, I say, you understand and accept that if I refund the calling pack cost, you will be liable for all the mobile calls including all, I emphasize that word in my tone, calls made to international numbers. Yeah, just get on with it. Excellent, I will have that done. Here is your reference number. Is there anything… But he hangs up the phone on me. With a massively evil smile, I turn to my agent and tell her to credit the call back amount, but also I will be coding her for time off the phones so that she can work out exactly how much to charge the customer. Now, the system doesn't automatically back charge these kind of things, so it's actually more work doing so. But it's also in our terms and conditions that, legally, if there were any invoicing errors like customers not getting charged correctly / at all, we are legally able to backdate up to 6 months of charges. I made sure she included the connection fee on top of talk time charges. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was upwards of around $600 to $700 after the $100 credit. Made ironclad case notes on the account about the whole interaction to make sure that when they called up next time, they will get nothing, which they did. Another manager who took the call laughed when they came up to me and had the pleasure of giving them the fat denied slap. Turns out they were making landline calls to suppliers and merchants overseas constantly and thought it was covered under a standard call because it was a landline there and not a mobile. So this is not my story but my father's from a few years back. He told it last night while we had family over and I felt like it was too satisfying not to boast. We live on a cul-de-sac, so we often only get people who live on the street coming in and out. We also had a lot of families with young kids who lived on the street with us. Since it was a safe and a quiet street, we'd ride our bikes and play in the street often. Now a con of living in a cul-de-sac, though, is everyone knows your business. And there was one person my parents hated because their business was screwing around and being a jerk. A 21-year-old sassy jerk who lived with his parents and did a lot of stupid stuff. One day, this jerk comes roaring down the street in his car. Everyone who lives here knows you shouldn't speed once you turn the corner onto our street. And my parents happened to see it while me and my younger brother were playing outside. Concerned that the jerk could have hit us, they go over and scold him for his driving. We have kids that ride their bikes. You can't be driving like that. My parents are nice people, but the moment you piss them off, the kindness is gone. That jerk proceeds to flip my parents off and continue on their way. The revenge. My dad's younger brother is a cop, and his best friend, my uncle's not my dad, works in our town. So my dad calls the police very calmly and asks for the friend to stop by so they can talk. The friend comes by and asks my dad what the problem is. My dad tells him about the jerk endangering us kids with his driving. The cop recognizes the kid and tells him that this jerk is also acting like a jerk towards the cops. The cop leaves, letting my dad know that they will keep an eye on him. Turns out the jerk had a couple unpaid speeding tickets, was the complaints from my parents and neighbors. And now the cops know what his house looked like. The jerk was done. They go over to his place to arrest him. However, his brother answers and says that he's the one they are looking for. The cops end up arresting both of them. If you lie about your identity, you can be arrested. Edit. So some people are getting confused about the timing and the reason for the arrest. The kid had a bunch of unpaid speeding tickets, not parking. Don't know where people got parking from. The kid didn't show up in court to challenge the ticket, nor did he pay. You can be arrested for this, and he clearly didn't care about being a safe driver. The cop didn't immediately arrest the kid that day. It was because of my dad saying something that the cop went into the system and found the tickets matching the kid's address. When the time came where he was overdue for paying them, that's when he got arrested. My dad didn't know nor intended for the kid getting arrested, just for the cop to talk to him and scare him into being a safer driver. But oh well. Bit of backstory. So a fair number of years ago, when I was still dating my now ex-husband, my ex was living with some friends of ours. Very nice people who opened their home up to him because he chose to live a rather transient lifestyle and needed a place to stay. They had also welcomed in several teenagers in need who went to the same school as their kids but had been kicked out of their parents' houses because of lifestyle differences. This was long enough ago that everyone involved is now an adult and no one suffered any permanent damage, but fair warning, I'm a jerk and I'm well aware. I'm also now old enough that I've mostly reached the I don't care about your expectations phase of my life. The story. My kid asked if we could go hang out at her friend's house after school, and I didn't have work and I'd get to hang out with my friends and my boyfriend, so I was more than happy to agree. She had bought just under a dozen fundraiser chocolate bars. I forgot the exact number. It was with her money and she wanted to share one with her friends before the rest got divided up as gifts for the other people she wanted to give them to. Sweet kid, likes sharing. I asked my friend if we could put them in the fridge because it was super hot out and I didn't want them melting and spoiling her gifts, so my friend said to put them in their garage fridge because they'll be safe there. Okay, sure. Fast forward a few hours and we are getting ready to leave and all, but two of the chocolate bars are missing. Or stolen, presumably by at least one of the teenagers in the house, but I'm not the type to go accusing people without actual evidence. There wasn't any way to prove which teen had taken them or if there was more than one culprit, but these were supposed to be mine and my kids' friends. You don't steal from friends. Shouldn't steal at all, but definitely not from the people in your crew. My kid was understandably upset and felt betrayed, and I was livid that someone who claimed to be her friend stole from her, hurt her, lied to her, and then tried to blame someone else. Everyone was pointing fingers. I've already mentioned my jerk nature. Well, add vindictive to that. I'm also allergic to artificial sweeteners. And my ex is a diabetic, so I did a little research and found which artificial sweetener has the most laxative effects, and then found which types of sugar-free candy/chocolate had the highest content of said sweetener. I bought 5 bags, took the 2 grocery bags full of diabetic-friendly candy to my ex, and made sure that everyone in the house knew that these were ex's candy because he can't have real sugar because of the diabetes, and asked everyone very nicely to not eat any of my ex's candy. And then I waited. All 5 bags were gone after 2 days. My ex had a couple pieces and the rest were all stolen. Oh no, this was an entirely unanticipated outcome. Yeah. Out of the entire household of 4 adults and 6 to 7 teenagers, I had trouble keeping track of which one was which. Only the adult and 1 teen didn't end up suffering from massive amounts of diarrhea. The icing on the cake, the teens all shared the same single bathroom. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.